Hello everybody, welcome to another video. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already and drop a like, comment and ring the bell as it helps people find me through the YouTube algorithm. This is probably the first time you've heard me say this, but it beats me trying to make an intro for every single video, so let's roll with it. I've also set a goal of reaching 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, so if you like my content, make sure to show your support. Today I'll be discussing the Atlanta doubleheader on Saturday with both the trucks and Xfinity races happening on the same day. Starting with the truck race because, well, that was the first race of the doubleheader. So the race started pretty tame. The McAnally trucks started out strong, running 1, 2, 3, 4, up until the end when everyone basically went for broke. And I'll be honest, those final few laps of Stage 1 were the best racing I have ever seen out of the truck series of this new Atlanta. The highlight of which was Lane Riggs making a daring 3-wide pass for the lead on the last lap of Stage 1. So he surprisingly made it stick. I thought they would wreck for sure because believe they were caught a little bit off guard, those McAnally cars. And this set the tone for pretty much the rest of the race because you started seeing more passing for position on the track and the field staying double file for a good couple laps. Of course, they went single file again throughout the as the green flag run went long. The longer the green flag run went. But like I said, the racing was much better compared to the previous truck race, and it might be because the track surface is starting to age. Unfortunately for Lane Riggs, he clearly went out of bounds, so despite finishing second on the stage, because of the violation, he was scored as the last car on the lead lap and had to forfeit his stage points. And then, during that caution, his truck shut off due to a battery issue, so safe to say, I guess the racing gods didn't like what he did on the track. Lane Riggs wasn't the only guy who got issues throughout the race either. Several other drivers had major setbacks, with most of them being front runners. Matt Crafton hit the wall early on in Stage 2, and then he got a commitment line violation entering pit road because his incident happened in turn 4. So he was forced to turn at a really tight angle to make it down there. He ended up falling 3 laps down and never recovered. He finished 22nd. Jack Wood also hit the wall. This happened early on in Stage 3, and he had to pit under green. And that was such a damn shame too, as he ran really well early on, as with all of the other McAnally trucks, as I previously mentioned. He actually won Stage 1 over his teammate Connor Mosack, who was the pole sitter for this race. First career pole, by the way, for Connor Mosack, so shout out to that. Jack Wood ended up falling 2 laps down for that. He finished 1 spot ahead of Crafton in 21st. And speaking of Connor Mosack, he ran up front until midway through Stage 3 when he got shuffled out by Ben Rhodes when he was running second. He faded down to mid-pack and then ended up wrecking off of turn 2 when Frankie Muniz came up on him, causing both of them to hit the wall hard. Mosack ended up finishing 25th, and with Muniz right behind him in 26th. Other guys that also had issues, Corey Heim and Ty Majeski, they both ran out of fuel towards the end of Stage 2 after their team stupidly decided to not pit them during the first stage caution, gauging that maybe they would have enough fuel to make it to the end of Stage 2 without a pit stop. Obviously, that ended up being a stupid call. Heim ended up falling 4 laps down as he ran out of fuel with 2 to go in the stage and had to limp down pit road at a pretty low speed. And while Majeski did manage to hold on to the end of the stage, as soon as they crossed the start-finish line, he came down pit road as his truck started to sputter, and he also fell a lap down, but he managed to recover and finish 8th. Corey Heim, on the other hand, he had 0 chance of getting all of his laps back. He ended up finishing 23rd. Another driver that also had a tough break was Roger Caruth, who was looking to rewind after a DNF at Daytona. His truck just snapped on him midway through Stage 3, and at first I thought he had gotten loose coming off of turn 4, and that was why he wrecked out. Then I thought he had caught a tire, but no. It turns out there was oil on the track that race control did not notice that led to the wreck, which also ended up collecting some big players in Daniel Hemrick, Tyler Ankrum, Andres Perez, and William Sawalich. So a terrible start to the season so far for the driver of the 71, with now back-to-back DNFs. So yeah, all of these incidents led to the field being slowly thinned out. In the end, however, no one could catch Kyle Busch, and while several other drivers did try, Grant Enfinger had his turn on that final restart. Then Ben Rhodes, Chandler Smith, who by the way started from the rear and ended up finishing 5th, And also, Tyler Ankrum and Daniel Hemrick, despite crash damage from earlier from the Raja Karuth wreck, they did manage to get back up there and challenge the 7. Of course, Hemrick, he got shuffled back with 5 to go, but Ankrum managed to hold on and finish 3rd. It wasn't until Stuart Friesen made his move with 2 to go, however, that we really thought that maybe, just maybe, Kyle Busch might have gotten beat. But like he got done to everyone else that ended up taking the lead away from him earlier, he made his move on the bottom of 3 and 4 on the final lap, and with one final side draft coming to the checker, he edged out the 52 on a photo finish. Safe to say, after what happened last year in the Cup race, he wasn't losing that same way again. So yeah, for Kyle Busch, this was win number 8 for him in the Truck Series at Atlanta, and his 2nd under this new configuration. And he just looked unbeatable. From the moment he took the lead in Stage 2, I mean, he always stayed up front. He won Stage 2 as well, and even after getting shuffled back during pit stops, he worked his way back to the front, and every time someone took the lead away from him, he just immediately responded 1 lap later, and he took it right back. And perhaps the most surprising thing was that all those moves he made to defend and regain the lead, he made those moves on the bottom lane. And as you guys know, the top is the preferred lane at Atlanta, especially for trucks and Xfinity. In the Cup Series, both lanes look more even in my opinion. His race-winning move, like I said, he made it on the bottom of 3 and 4. And this was kind of the theme for the entire race, that the top lane was not as dominant as it was in years past, that some certain drivers were able to make the bottom work more. And this led to this race. This was a pretty defining factor in this race being the best truck race on this new configuration by far. I was also certainly impressed with the ability of these drivers to keep it relatively clean for the 2nd consecutive week. And I was also impressed with how quickly the track surface seemed to age, this just being year 4 with the new configuration. Like last week, I saw some shades of old Daytona with the way drivers were able to make moves on their own without much drafting help. And especially in the Truck Series, which has been, in my opinion, the weakest of the 3 as far as the racing at New Atlanta goes, the fact that they put on such a fun race gave me hope that the Xfinity race later that day would follow a similar trend. That was not the case, unfortunately. The Xfinity race was dominated by RCR from start to finish, basically. They even qualified 1-2 with Jesse Love on the pole and Austin Hill 2nd. There was also relatively little side-by-side action for pretty much the entire first half of the race. And you can clearly tell it's because NASCAR just keeps mandating the super speedway package on a track that's clearly supposed to be an intermediate. Yes, you run it as a super speedway, but at its core, it's still 1.5 miles. The only passing for the lead we saw was between the 2 RCR teammates as they were seemingly taking turns leading laps. There was some hope towards the end of Stage 2, however, when the bottom lane was formed, led by the Haas cars of Sam Mayer and Sheldon Creed, with also help from Ari Camarola and Justin Allgaier, but still, 21 managed to defend himself to perfection on his way to sweeping the stages once again, as he had also won Stage 1. So Austin Hill is now 4 for 4 on stage wins so far this season in Xfinity, which is really crazy. Stage 3 featured a lot more action, helped by the fact that Jesse Love was mired in mid-pack, so this left Austin Hill to fend for himself up front. There were also several cautions that kept the field bunched up double file. 6 of them, as a matter of fact, in Stage 3 alone. The most notable of which was Sam Mayer and Anthony Alfredo with about 20 laps to go, crashing hard in turn 4 after Mayer got turned by the 48 of Sanchez. And I do believe there might have been some payback involved, as Sanchez took exception to the 41, leaving him with no help on a previous restart. Of course, I'm not saying he outright did it on purpose, because he was a bit loose entering the corner right before he wrecked the 41. You could clearly see that on the replay, but I thought it was worth mentioning to bring some context to light between some drivers and why they race each other a certain way. But yeah, anyways. Race ended on a 3-lap sprint to the finish, and despite Allgaier and Almirola challenging the 21 for the win, Austin Hill was just too good. Sure, the rest of the field could have kept it clean instead of wrecking on the last lap again, and because NASCAR once again let them race back to the line, Eric Camilo and Justin Allgaier. They could have worked together to make something happen to try and get past the 21, even as the field was wrecking behind them. Just saying. But let's not kid ourselves. That still doesn't take away from the absolute clinic the current best super speedway racer in the Xfinity Series put together. He started on the front row, led 146 of 163 laps. He swept both stages, won the race, which, by the way, he's now won 5 of the last 6 Xfinity races at Atlanta, dating back to the July race of 2022, all of them with the new configuration. He also locked himself into the playoffs, which means both RCR drivers are already locked in by week number 2 of the season. Austin Hill did everything right today. If the rest of the field is refusing to make any moves to challenge him for the lead, then that's their problem. It's their fault. It's not Austin Hill's job to yield or make things less boring. He's just going to take the free win if they're giving it to him. And he said it as such in his post-race interview. He definitely thought that Allgaier could have, he got a chance to block the top lane. And while I thought it was a little bit risky, it's going for the win. So I was definitely a bit surprised that Allgaier didn't go for that move. And like Austin Hill said, the moment he failed to do that, and the moment, the race didn't go to overtime, the moment they took the white flag, all Austin Hill needed was a push from Parker Retzlaff, and that's all she wrote for him, basically. Almiron and Allgaier, they could have maybe done something, maybe worked together after the field wreck, entering turn 3, but at that point, I don't know, even if they worked together, I don't know if they would have caught the 21. I feel like Austin Hill had a pretty good head of steam over both of them by that point. But yeah, I guess that's it for the Xfinity race. And with Kyle Busch having won the truck race early in the day and Hill winning the Xfinity race, the script from 2024 is on pace to repeating itself. So let's find out and see if Daniel Suarez can get the job done in the Cup race.